You want to stay on my side? Hello. Welcome to Segue. My name's Stella, and this is Jay, and we are the organizers of this season. This is the second reading, and today we're thrilled to have Bernadette Van Huy and Richard Maxwell here to read. So Jay and I will start by introducing Bernadette, and after her reading, there'll be a brief 5-minute intermission, and then we're going to reconvene for Richard's reading, who will be introduced by art historian Alex Kitnick. As the ever-elusive artist and a founder of the fictional brand Bernadette Corporation, for which she is the namesake, Bernadette Van Huy, along with her many collaborators, have taken on the roles of fashion designer, photographer, filmmaker, advertiser, publisher, sculptor, novelist, and more. Adopting the all-encompassing but faceless identity of a corporation, because corporations are society's lawful criminals, the brand offered an illegitimate space to play with the detritus of culture while complicating the demand for an individual, marketable, artistic identity. Their creation story, almost mythological in itself, occurred in the nightclub Club USA, run by Peter Gatien, where Bernadette was asked to host weekly parties that added an aura of nightlife by lining the space with human decor. Sensitive to the city's demand for celebrity and narratives of success, a relentless self-promotion where people sell as products, fashion became the perfect guise for which to carry out their initial activities. Throughout the 90s, they held conceptual fashion bazaars in Soho parking lots, ran a short-lived cafe on Allen Street named DMC, Documents and Manifestos, and launched a legally incorporated fashion brand from their headquarters on the Bowery, debuting their collection in DIY runway shows in clubs and on the street. Misrepresenting trends, their looks mashed high and low. Thrift store finds and deconstructed streetwear adorned highly accessorized models who provocatively chewed gum or smoked while walking the runway. Soon making use of any and all cultural outlets, the brand also embedded themselves in the publishing world. They produced 3 issues of their self-published magazine Made in USA, named after Godard's worst and best film. And they organized 150 people to collectively write a novel about an art world it girl named Rena Spallings, which spawned the Chinatown Gallery of the same name. Bernadette Corporation, Bernadette writes, was always political and literary at its heart. At its heart then was a subversion of the socially acceptable codes reified by the market, fracturing the assumption that a person must wear what they are sold or an author must speak only for themselves. And to work, this anti-aesthetic, anti-corporate enterprise was itself effectively and alluringly fed back into the public. BC showed that out of the low, through the dullness of industry, artists can be invented and a fantastical story can be told. Fittingly, a version of that story was presented at Artist Space in their 2012 exhibition, 2000 Wasted Years.
Deploying and circulating texts is a tenet running through Bernadette's individual and collective output. Bernadette Corporation composed an epic poem as the primary content of their 2009 exhibition, The Complete Poem, redistributed social media posts responding to leaked celebrity nudes by etching them onto bathroom plumbing fixtures in a haven for the soul, and republished a set of great books in which the literary content was exchanged with online customer reviews in media hot and cold. In line with her earlier dissemination as a brand, Bernadette's writing often appears in unexpected but plainly cited settings. As she mentioned to us in an email, she likes to plant literature in places where you don't expect to find it, in incidental, practical places like questionnaires, press releases, interviews, which she always edits and rewrites, and from now on, stand-up. These standardized formats provide room for infective experimentation, and in their modes of distribution, Bernadette addresses varying kinds of visibility. Identity, as in the act of living, is a thread running through her own deceptively plain-speaking texts, which emphasize the social and experiential. Or as William Gibson says, we see in order to move, we move in order to see.
In this in-between space, where art and life become themselves vessels for inquiry and introspection, Bernadette's work resonates with a quiet intensity that belies profound significance. Her 2010 artist book, In Person, staged a projection of her own bi-directional persona as drawings and a series of photographs of her two artist friends, Genoveva Filipovic and Rita Ackerman, playing the characters of the dark poet and the comedic actor. Bernadette says, "For this book, I approach myself as a character that I have to perform, which I do in life anyway. I approach myself the way a talent agent would. What are we going to work with here? How are we going to refine and communicate this character to an audience?" Just as Bernadette's work asks where to locate writing, today there's a question of where to locate reading. We have the answer. Bernadette's work will be presented by her friend and collaborator, Wednesday Knudsen. So please join me in welcoming Wednesday. Thank you.
Hi. For the first two poems, there's a chorus at the end of each one. It would be great if you could follow along on the handouts and join in for those parts. I'll give you a cue when it's time. Contraindicated. From the rage, from the heads of the noise Medusa, I take refuge. Someplace quiet, with a hidden door and padded walls. And in the same way that fugitives take precautions and throw out their phones and credit cards, I unplug, dismantle, remove parts, even from myself. The act of living all on its own is so valuable. The lights are out, there's no activity, no one's home. Because I like to travel. And so, like an athlete, I have to maintain a regimented diet to keep my channels clear and properly tuned, to be able to transfer at every instant. That's one part of the rig. And then there's speed. Lamborghinis, Mercedes go 180 miles per hour on the roads and highways. To get on the latitudinal highways, to blast off using only available force, you have to throw the gear backwards to zero and don't move to catch the slipstream far out to another dim. There, you don't hear anything. You're past the sound barrier. You don't see anything either. You're past seeing. You just feel worlds rumbling, breaking, forming. You've gone so far outside, you're deep inside. Sunglasses, deception. In darkness, I am lightness, a fugitive from life, as indicated. Blinking. Why is there day and night? Why are we conscious and unconscious? Why is there reality and dreaming? Why? The world has been spinning since day one. And actually, it's because of spin that it even exists. Why? And life, which cropped up here was sculpted by these hands. Spin made us, and we're made of spin. After a bad day, when the next one finally rolls around, is there perfect continuity? No. When the earth turns back on itself, the day goes into the fold, engorged by night. Then another day emerges. Poetry takes its form from the spinning, traveling earth. When it gets to the end of one line, it submerges into a white ocean, then returns, while advancing, to begin the next. In the ocean are all the possible waves. Some run ashore, then get sucked back out to sea. Then another variant runs ashore. During the day, we interact with one variant of reality. At night, we sink back down into something akin to the ocean. Engorged in this imaginative, this all possible beings blob, connections are forged and amended, and a new variant emerges. These oceans conjugate. They send out one inflection, receive it back, send out another. On the quantum level, an electron is an ocean of all possible positions until you try to measure it. Then it assumes one, and back again. Every night we turn back, like the electron. Our eyes are quantum too. They're the spinning earth, translated into primate organs, a dazzling set. Our eyes are open, our eyes are closed. Why? Unrehearsed. Everyone's in therapy. It's not normal if you're not in therapy. Life can be confusing, and when you're stuck, it's good to get an outside perspective. But in my opinion, life today is so confusing that it calls for a really outside perspective, an extra outside perspective. So whenever I'm stuck, I like to pretend I'm talking to an alien therapist. Me? I'm a human. What family do we humans belong to? That's a long story. We do belong to the ape family, but the thing is, we've run evolutionary circles around the other apes, so we don't like to recognize them as relatives. We're really in a class to ourselves, despite what the DNA says. It's a crazy story, sort of random. It all boiled down to one alteration in our kind, standing upright, which kicked off all these unprecedented developments and transformations in us. We started making tools, then our brains grew. Then with bigger brains, we could perform all sorts of mental gymnastics. So while the other apes are still grunting and shrieking and covered in mud, we've risen to astonishing heights and become the gods of our planet. Our big brains. We're so complicated, we need to hire other people to help us figure ourselves out. As you already know, Dr. Alien. Where I live, We're such a complex society. We're such an industrious society that even when we don't have ideas, we still produce. We just produce waste directly and ship it to other countries and bury them in it. It's funny that within our country, throwing a candy wrapper on the ground is frowned upon. Egypt had the pyramids. These mountains of waste are our monuments. Our big brains. We're so advanced, there are things in our society that are hard to understand. All New York City cabs, for example, they have this video player that plays junk. It's just there to destroy your peace and quiet. And it has an off button, which doesn't work, but which you ram down on over and over every time in forever clean, renewable aggravation. What I want to know is who made that decision? To blast noise at us and put a fake off button? To make a joke out of our helplessness? The Taxi Federation didn't make that decision. It wasn't the manufacturer of the video players. It's a decision by someone in control. Or let's say you're dealing with your bills, car payment, or insurance policy. You have a problem and call customer service. But before you can get help, you're given a flogging at the hands of the automated phone system. First, you're forced to tediously answer to it. You have to tell it your account number, your address, your social security number, information you always have to say a second time to the human. So the purpose of this part is just to make you answer to the system. Then, the automated system asks you, in an upbeat and encouraging voice, to tell it the reason for your call, assuring you it can handle a wide range of responses. You tell it in a few simple words. When it goes to repeat it back to you, the system says something that has no resemblance whatsoever to what you just said. There's no similarity in sound, no similarity in length. There's just no resemblance at all that it can only be understood as a joke. Having a nervous breakdown by now, you scream that it's not correct. The system asks you to tell it again while you're calling. You do, and it does the same thing. This goes on a few more times. Now, and this is the punchline of the whole charade. It patronizes you for being a moron. With a voice full of contempt, it says, "Let's try this a different way." Anyone who tests these systems knows that it doesn't understand anything. So whose decision was it to break you down like this, and then when you're on the floor, to call you a moron? These charades of subjection and ridicule are medieval floggings made small and folded into everyday spaces. Televised dictators appearing on jumbotrons talk down and confirm their control from above. But we get it from the side and below, like little kicks, through these casual interfaces. I wonder if there's even real people coming up with these Joker-style torture devices. Maybe it's the unconscious of our system being expressed. And of course, there's the ads online and how they run out and sabotage your every move, covering up the content you're trying to read. poking and electrocuting your eyeballs with peripheral stimuli and explosions. Operating as advertisements, these are a zillion microdoses of warfare to destroy your ability to focus. And as if that wasn't bad enough, I think there's a new kind of ad, what I call a complex ad, one that's thoroughly integrated into reality and far stronger than reality. Do you know the Super Bowl ads? Well, this tops that. It's the presidency. The presidency is now an ad spot. I think Donald Trump is a complex ad made by Cheetos. My theory is that Cheetos wanted that color embedded into our psyches. So they came up with the pretty brilliant idea of an invincible Dracula character who, instead of sleeping in a coffin at night, sleeps in a tanning bed. A tacky demon from Mar-a-Lago, Florida, instead of Transylvania, who haunts our every waking moment, terrorizing us, who dominates our news cycles and gives us nightmares. I hear Doritos is now working on a presidential candidate. Our big brains. Maybe it doesn't mean intelligence after all. Maybe it just means the ability to take something to an advanced level, including stupidity. For example, an ape might still just live in the wild, the same as it did since the dawn of time. So we might look at it and say it's not an intelligent being. But an ape wouldn't poison its own food, or blow up the ground that it stands on, or come up with the idea that it's not an ape. We're chemically made to feel good when we focus, pay attention, when we develop understanding and can make sense of the world. Things we work slavishly around the clock to destroy. It's like we kill ourselves killing ourselves. So maybe the ape is looking at us, giving us that wary eye, moving as far away from us as it can get, thinking, yikes, what a cracked out walking/bipedal time bomb those guys turned out to be. I guess the time's up. Dr. Alien, just one last thing. I was wondering, what's your address? Because I was thinking, maybe Amazon could ship Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend to your planet. Because today is the Lunar New Year, Rich and Bernadette thought to end each of their readings with something about the moon. I want to imitate a starry sky with cell phone sounds. So could everyone please turn their phones on and turn their notifications on? Thank you. Exactly. Moon. Moon is always there. It hides in the wings during the day. It enters at night, wearing false, borrowed light. Thank you. Bernadette.
Thank you so much, Bernadette and Wednesday. We'll take a quick 5-minute break and be back with Richard Maxwell. Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce Alex Kitnick, who's going to introduce Richard Maxwell.
Thank you. Big honor to introduce Rich Maxwell, born 1967. People occupy an ambiguous place in Rich Maxwell's theater. Sometimes they're standing on a pedestal delivering lines like pizza, or else they're on a stage or on a boat, standing where they've been told to stand And sometimes they're not there at all, or they're on video. But sometimes people are very much there, crowded into a hotel room or dancing some kind of dance, making a big fact of their bodies. I'm not sure if Rich has a point to get across, but he has words to get across, and his great concern is how to get them off the page, or how to keep them there. Frank Stella once said he wanted the paint in his paintings to be as good as it was in the can. He was just putting it up there and laying it down. And I think Rich uses words in a similar fashion. But Stella also said, what you see is what you see. And with Rich, that doesn't seem quite right. Hey, Stella! There's something about Rich's plainness, directness, and straightforwardness that kind of puts the whole human condition on display. And I'm not the kind of person prone to saying things like that. And yet I don't think Rich is necessarily trying to be genuine. As Yvonne Rainer once wrote, there's a way in which being oneself is quite impossible, especially in front of an audience. Rich isn't trying to be real, he's trying to be direct. In that sense, he is a director. Rich Maxwell works with actors, but he has a thing for the non-professional, which is different from the unprofessional. It might have something to do with the amateur, the kind of person who works out of and maybe from a desire for love. He also has a thing for beginners in beginning. Rich has created his own non-transgressive downtown sensibility, and yet it has some central tenets. All theater is community theater. All theater is community. All community is theater. Rich Maxwell.
Thank you. So, thank you, Alex. I really like that. In the spring of 2022, I got COVID, and I think it was triggered by getting soaked at my son Shane's baseball game, and then right from that, I went to meet Alex, and Alex gave me his T-shirt to wear because I was soaked. And so I'm bringing it back to him right here. So it's not often the person who introduces you will give you the shirt off his back. So my favorite kind of, I was told at some point this is like a poetry reading, and my favorite kind of poetry is accidental poetry. And I'm happy to have an example that I guess I wrote for you, and I'll share that with you. So my wife Tori, who's in the back, we were at Shane's baseball game, a different game, and so the parents are responsible for doing the Game Changer, which is the app you use to keep track of the stats. And Tori hadn't done it before, and so she was like just finding her feet and trying to keep track of, like, you know, the batters, like strike or ball or hit and all of this. And the app, I guess it glitched out, and she started panicking, and I was there, and so I pulled out my phone and had to like improvise a system on the spot, and I went into my notes. And it was just like covering for her until the app came back, and this is what I wrote. And if I say like the number 10, it means 1 and 0. So, but I think it's also, I think it looks better than it sounds. So I just wanted to show it to you. I won't do the 1 and 0 thing. 10, 11, 12. 01, 02. If I pause, it's a new batter. 03, 5, 10, 11, 21, 31, single/error, question mark, 12, 01, swing. I got better, you see, as I go here. 02, foul tip. 03, looking. Black. 4, 01, swing. 5, steal on wild pitch. 12, swing. 13, swing. And that was the end of my tenure as statistician there. So I'm gonna read stuff from plays, and I'm just thinking this morning, like these are it's writing, and I guess it's like it tends towards the poetical, but it's they're, at the end of the day, they're lines. And I think I say that because I read these and I can't separate reading them from hearing them from the people who I cast to say them. And so I sometimes lapse into the way that they read them. And this first one is from a text that I wrote for devotion for Sarah Mitchelson's dance. And this is the epilogue from that. So Sarah was reading this in the dance performance. My mother lives in the colony. She has for many years. She misses the old country. She says, I started going to mass because I wanted to hear piano music, but there are no pianos here. They play guitars. I understand. She misses the logic of the ordered chords, the regular comforting wheeze of the pedals, the hammered strings, the lasting hum, the accordant veins of sound that suspend and resolve, the rooted bass that stirs the soul. But you can only travel with what you can carry. We ride along the country roads covering ourselves against the dust. We press through the midday heat. She likes the guitars all the same, and she loves the voices. Today we may hear Alberto play. My mother is impressed with the nature around us. There are so many different kinds of plants and birds, and she knows them all by name. Nature can be so cruel too. Birds get thrown from nests, she says. It's survival, and maybe we're not so cruel after all. We are the frontier, we who live at the edge, who define civilization. We're supposed to be, as humans, so virtuosic. Expectations are high, so thank you. Thank you, Lord, for all the beauty. And like all tragedy, all become distilled to a dynamic that at times seems confused and altogether. Aren't they woven into the history of this place anyway? We all are on the backs of this corrupt and evil history in some fashion. So include this. It belongs to us. We continue pleasing our damaged selves, and sometimes things happen that make us feel good about it. I thought once that I was exempt from the vices and perversions of humanity, and later found out I was the same. Slow down here, she says, as we come up on a rough patch. We ride on without speaking for a while. My mother is lost in thought, staring ahead at something inside her mind. Beauty faintly thinks it knows itself, is not disturbed by itself, quiet inside with cooling breath. Soft satisfaction of the chest in rhythmic rising in action presents itself. You are allowed to see. You look at everything. Your sharp eyes dart about this and that. Face, chest, legs, the posture, the carriage resonate with signals received before. You measure and listen. I am a thing of flesh and feeling. My navel, my center, my connection, the lines of comfort wrinkled. I gaze a while. I'm perfect because I'm not. I am tender and sweet, and here, you are too. And if I am tender, you are the balm in this static place. Comfortable scenic nothing, perfect evening extending. You can have whatever you want. We could talk forever under the dark and constant sky. The ideas go on forever. We find this peace where time disappears. There is darkness and nothing, and out of that came light, an explosion of unknown origin. We exist here between explosions, trying to be or do better than before, carry closer to destruction. We have that map in our memory. There was darkness, light, and darkness again. Out of this emerges a tiny speck that is you, this piece of dust that blew into existence as desires tied to the whole, extreme and rare and right now, working hard to satisfy the appetite of the ego. How did you get these words? Say one thing and that's true. We are here, don't worry. You'll have everything, the body, the words, and the room. We are perfect. I don't see how it could have happened differently, performing in a black box space. We will be there. We will share there. We won't need to please. We'll be ourselves, plain and true. Not that it will be easy. We are the story. Our faults, our little victories, our mistakes and regrets floating, the giant and vast spectrum of all eternal. We'll be creatures, benign and innocent, you and I, to the place, to this space. I am your custodian. I maintain your current surrounding, all this in an attempt at becoming certain, down to earth, forever, grounded, here, invincible, literal, kind, taught, undivided, voluminous, yours. This next one is from a play I wrote called Queen's Row, and it was done at the Kitchen right before the pandemic in January of 2020. And this speech was read by Antonia Summer. Yeah, and I really liked the combination of her voice and who she is with this text. I'm sorry, she can't be here. Odessa, Texas. Yes, I'm back home. Couldn't sleep last night. Weird. I had a long walk through the night. Beautiful. I like being outside. I feel like it's good for my eyes. When I'm outside and I look up at the sky, I feel them getting stronger. What do I see? I see the flames of the refinery. I see the glow from the city. Some nights I can see stars, but not tonight. Sometimes you want no stars in the sky because after all, it's too damn oppressive all the time. You need the relief sometimes. I know it because I've seen it. Tonight, I need an unfeeling sky, not looking at me. Because the notification's still on from Bernadette. I still have the bag you bought me, and the sand in my car sticking to my feet reminds me of you. Put all, fill up all, my dreams and hopes and desires, load it all in. You make me feel foolish for what I said, what I did, because you didn't reply. You're the person I want to talk to the most, and I can't talk to you. Sometimes all I ask is your audience. You disappeared, so I thought I would try you here. You're the person I supposedly can tell anything to, but I have to wait to tell it until when? I can text it to you, but it might take a day or two for you to get back to me, and I'm like, where do we meet to have this lover's chat? I want to make sure you know it was just one dance. I would take it back if I could take it back. She'd say dance. I like that. I keep thinking about the time you took me shopping. It was supposed to be for me, but I know it was for you. When we went to trashy places instead. Dollar General, Forever 21, Shopko. The clothes made me look cheap, and you said no. It's my personal value inside the clothes that made it so charged. The tube top, leg warmers, and synthetic bra. Who was I to you? A cleaning woman with kids, a stripper with no place to go, a state college kid alone in her dorm room. That night I was laughing, but you succumbed to the pressure and started to rip off the garments, and we were inside the pleasure. The game was done, and those sad images began to evaporate. The range of emotions lately for me is intense. I think I'm asking too much, and you're the kind to not tell me when it's too much or not right. My presence wasn't helpful to you. It made things worse, you said. but you knew the consequences. You jumped in. Are you there? It's really hard to tell my feelings to you like this. I just like spending time with you. Look what thoughts can do. I string together memories as though it were some kind of lifeline, like, I don't know what the light is doing at 4 o'clock where you are, but it's making all these memories seem more vivid right now. It's a narcotic effect, whiting out pages in the history, making me search through. Imagine a lifetime measured in dead pages. I thought, if I put myself in close proximity of this person, then there is hope, in life or online. Either way will work. If I can, I choose in life. I like the raw truth. I need that additional information you can't take a picture of, and I prefer the old-fashioned ways. It's old-fashioned, but I like it. Yeah. Is it that we're so much the same, or that we need each other? We horrify each other, but we die without each other. You know this, and you can't stand it. Love is the thing you do when there's nothing left to do. Love is the thing to do beyond words. Do I have doubts? Of course. How will I be a good parent? How can I raise anyone? I think about your mother, and how did she manage to raise you? You're trouble, but at least you know how the world works. Hold on, someone is coming. When someone comes along uninvited, my eyes fire blanks. You know it. Well, I'm getting good at it. We spent the night at the Flying J again. Hard to sleep there for long, and you don't want to sleep there for more than 2 nights in a row because of creeps. At least I've got the dog with me. From Odessa, you find humanity at the strangest places. The young men and women now, they are not cowboys and angels. It's myths we put on them and what we imagine their lives to be. I'm thinking of them by the city pool, at the ball game. There are grandmothers, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters. Their parents, moms who read, dads who coach. They're hard. They work at service stations and sell insurance, have modest homes. They spank their kids because they care. They mean what they say and don't change it to be funny. Stay simple, I heard someone say. I understand. There shouldn't be this other hope put upon them. They shouldn't have to live up to what we were promised. I spoke with Maureen last night, who's back home in Las Cruces. Learn how to be old so you don't die, she said. And I know what she means for her. She means not having to be glamorous all the time, not having to be witty and quick with the joke. She means not having to always be the smartest and best and most beautiful in the room all the time. Maureen tells me that for me, learning to be old means giving up the other. She wants me to come back home. She doesn't think you're coming back. She's like, be independent. Stay away from the feeling, from the power. You will get seduced. And I'm like, I know, but hold on. I only see people defined by others, and I have here a situation where I can just learn. If I had to do it all over again, I would have done the same thing. I don't need to feel clean. You know, I've always been loyal to a fault. I even got a tattoo. It says, Nos mori in unum. It means we go down together. And it's fine because we're together. If I learned that, it's made me a better person. It's allowed me to focus on maybe not being the best, but the best I can be. I am not willing to give up. I keep thinking about how our chests smash together. And when you don't answer, I feel less like one and more like two. In love, no one knows that you are a hero. You have this private myth all around you, anonymously playing out in darkness. I know from the lyrics of songs what it means. The girl sings a song about missing the boy. The song teaches me about how to feel. I've seen it in the shootouts and the lovers' guttural shouts, the roller coasters and the arcades, the fast cars and sunset horizons, the rivers, the jails, and the cantinas. Am I the new love hero? Not new because I'm taking over, but new because the romantic era has finally ended, this time for real, this time for good. There is an unmeasurable feeling around me, a pressure I feel, as it so happens, and I can see in great detail how it came down into a darkened room in the afternoon. The posters on the wall made black and white in the darkness, the hard sunlight piercing through the pulled shades. I hide by being that double and ape what she does. She stands on the foundation, and I fall into her outline. It was she who said, I can't live without him, and she had no idea that it would mean that he would die and that she would be left without him. She says his name. After all the millions of years and lives, she gets to be one of the lucky few to see the end of an era. How many others can say that? Above the terrestrial sphere, that city's grid, all laid out with its crisscrossing lines and the same thing, but hovering above it. She'll bring it into the present tense. She'll be sending out signals into the dark, into this cluster of dark matter, against this ether, until she is wafting through space as others supplicate. What has she done with her lover's ashes? She has spread them all over the vistas, all over this beauty, ending in ashes. She can't stop the ending in the face of such beauty. And this one is from The Evening, a play that here in New York was done at the Kitchen in 2015. Yeah, I'm just gonna play it. Just gonna answer this email first, though, you don't mind. Yeah, it was nice the chat I had with Bernadette about the moon. I don't really have any poems about the moon. Happy New Year, by the way. But this song is called Moon, and it's got Brian Mendes is talking to Camissa Bauerhaus at this point. He's a mixed martial artist, and Camissa's his girlfriend, and she's the bartender. And she just said she wants to go to Istanbul without him. And David Zuckerman is singing in a moment. I can't let you go. You're in everything. You're in the walls. You're everywhere. I really need you. You know that, right? You don't know now, but you will. What is it? Everything that I could do ever, everything that I could ever possibly want, you give me. You know, all my desires. You meet me step for step. You anticipate what I need, where I am. Why am I here like this? It's like you are a reflection of myself that pleases me. What am I that this is possible? I hope I'm not flattering myself to say that I'm worthy of your company. My guide. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Richard Maxwell and Bernadette Van Huy. And please join us here Saturday, next Saturday, for Lonnie Holly and Lee Baines. Thanks, everybody. Good night.